Yeah. Haribo! Thank you for coming. Anyone else? Yes, Prabhu. Subrata Rai? Okay, very nice. And your family, Mataji, right? Your name is? Premavati Tunga Vidya Mataji. Haribo! Let's welcome her. Haribo! And your child? Rupa Manjari Roy. Haribo! Welcome to New Goloka. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, so quick announcements before we start with the class. We'd like to thank our sponsors for today's feast. So today's feast is sponsored by Naga Nanda Kumar and Jai Shri Mataji. So Prabhuji is right here. Mataji is, she didn't come. Oh, she's outside. Right. Oh, she went to drop this. So let's thank Prabhu for sponsoring the feast today, and let's loudly chant for them. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Pray to Shri Shri Radha Goloka to shower all your blessings upon you. Hare Krishna. Also, we have a passion sponsorship. Today's feast is also sponsored by Kalyan Krit Prabhu and Govinda Lilamrita Mataji. Today is actually Mataji's birthday. So we would like to thank Mataji for all her services, especially Prabhu and Mataji. Every festival they come, they cook the whole feast, and they have been serving New Goloka for decades. So, thank you so much for your service. So let's chant for both of them. We pray to Shri Shri Radha Golokanda to bless them with good health and more opportunity to serve them. So let's loudly chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Also, we'd like to thank Prasantma Prabhu, Sadhvi Radha Mataji and their entire team for cooking the Sunday feast today. Haribo! Hare Krishna. So we request everyone, can you kindly all come forward for the class? Everyone please, if you can kindly move forward. So let's again warmly welcome His Holiness Bhai Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, thank you all for coming in spite of the ice everywhere. I have to apologize for having ice on our parking lot, but there's no way with a gravel parking lot to get rid of the snow other than my going to the army base and requesting a flamethrower from them. But that might be a little dangerous. So whatever we could clean up, we cleaned up, but you know, it's Mother Nature, so please be very careful. So today's talk will be based on something called delusion and deliverance. Delusion means basically to think that we're something that we're not. And deliverance means becoming Krishna conscious. So we're going to tell you how to be in delusion. That's the first topic. Of course, you already are. So, all right, so we don't need to get into that. And then second, we're going to tell you how to get out of delusion if you want to get out of delusion. Sometimes people say misery is happiness. Misery is bliss. So my brother said that to me. He said, ignorance is bliss. When I tried to explain to him the process of Krishna consciousness and that he wasn't his body and all the things he had in this world were temporary, he said, stop there. Ignorance is bliss. Let me be happy. So, anyway, that's illusory happiness. It's like the happiness that you have in a dream, where you think you're very rich, you think you're famous, and then you wake up and you find out you're in your old bed. So, anyway, let's chant Jai Radha Madhava first. Jaya Radha Madhova Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhova Kunja Bihari. Mopi Janabalabha Idi Varuna Mule Gopi Janabalabha Idi Varuna Mule Sudanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachalde Yamuna Tera Banachalante Jairandu Madhova Kunja Bihari. Jairadhu Madhova Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balabha Hiri Varudhavute Gopi Jana Balabha Hiri Varudhavute Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanacharute Yamuna Tera Panacharute Jaya Radha Madhova Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhova Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paracharya also Teda Sitashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Avaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Saima Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Yam Hunamai Ki Jai. Srimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Haribol. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya. Putale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatcha Deja Tarni. So Om Ganata Miranda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshuran Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigadaveda Maha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So now we're going to talk about ignorance versus enlightenment or deliverance. Okay, so there are some obstacles that we have that keep us from self-realization. Of course, self-realization means basically to understand Krishna, our relationship with Krishna, the material world, right? Karma, and time. And to understand how all these factors interact with each other. So, we have the senses, there's 5 senses, and we have the mind, not the brain. Mind is the subtle body, which is also composed of the intelligence and false ego. And all these different elements are focused right now on our enjoyment. Me. Even up to the point of moksha. Like we have the Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and moksha. For those of you who don't understand Sanskrit, it means being a very religious person, but for the purpose of, how do you do that? Grease my palm, anyway, something like that. Money or opulence, worship God. Om Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Give a nice car to me. So, so we do our worship, and we have some purpose. Me. It's all me, 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 me. And Dhamma, Artha, and then good old Kama. Those of you who don't know what Kama means to try to enjoy things. My enjoyment. Enjoy others or things or whatever. Even enjoy your own mind. And ego is what? The concept of I and mine, which is actually the reason we're here in the material world, the false ego. There's actually a real ego. So that false ego makes us think always in terms of I and mine. And someone who is Krishna conscious is thinking in terms of Krishna's. It belongs to Krishna. And I am part and parcel of Krishna. Mamivangsa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So here's our present situation. Now these 5 horses represent the senses. Like you see, if you can see clearly the picture up there. And these sensors are dragging not only the driver, but dragging the reins. The reins are the mind. Sometimes the mind is considered the 6th sense. Manasakstani indriyani, prakriti stani karshati. And the driver is the intelligence. We're going to talk a little bit about intelligence later on. And the passenger is us. And we're being nahi kasya chanamapi jatatishtati karma krit karyate yavasa karma sarva prakriti jagana. We're being dragged here and there by these 3 things called the modes of nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. And these modes of nature, they affect us very subtly depending on who and what and where we're associating. Like you eat certain foods, Krishna describes in the Gita, you get put in the mode of goodness. You eat other foods, you get too hot, spicy, and mode of passion. Eat other foods, you get mode of ignorance, tasteless, stale, decomposed, mode of ignorance. And music was like that. You know, there's music in the mode of ignorance, goodness, passion, etc. So what do we do about this? First of all, we have to recognize that in this world, we're meditating on the objects of our senses, and we become attached to them. This is a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Sanskrit is jayato vishakputsam sangostesha bhajayate. I'm not going to get into the rest of the verse. But from contemplation of a sense object, you get attached, then you get extremely attached. That's called lusty, kama. And then when you don't get it, you get angry, which we're going to hear about here. Anger. This nice gentleman. So you get angry, and even when you get it, you get angry. Why? Because it doesn't give you the satisfaction that you wanted. So it's a problem. So that's the first problem, contemplating sense objects. And so we have this desire to avoid pain, avoid unpleasant circumstances, and go for pleasure. And it's always I, and I, right? I hate, I love, I like, I want. Take care of number 1, me. I take for myself, I attack, I avoid. You know, certain things just annoy us sometimes for no reason whatsoever. It's interesting. I mean, I was remarking to the devotees the other day that sometimes I see someone wearing a certain type of shoe and it annoys me. Isn't it? It just agitates you. Oh my God. So these are biases that we have, but actually the expression of these biases is all based upon our desire, our self-centeredness. So anyway, getting on with this. From anger, we get bewilderment. Because when you're angry, you forget all sorts of things, you do all sorts of crazy things. You ever heard of road rage? Did you ever express road rage? Don't raise your hand. You know, someone cuts us off, you know, and you rascal, you demon. How do you know it's a demon? Maybe a pure devotee who cuts you off. And then when you get bewildered, you get really bewildered, you forget what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, which basically should be based upon Krishna, and Krishna's instructions come in the Vedic literatures. You just do things that later on perhaps you regret. And you lose your intelligence and you lose your determination to practice spiritual life. Simply from that. And then you get destroyed. So there's a whole progression here. We have impressions that we have, action, desire, and well, it starts with ignorance of our identity, and then there's a contemplation, the desire, and they take action, and then we get further impressions. So the mind, in one sense, is the cause of our continual suffering in this world. Because if we didn't contemplate something, so the mind is the controlling factor. Remember the reins that were controlling the chariot. And therefore we have to undergo something called repeated birth and death, which is called samsara. And the reason we undergo repeated birth and death, because of the mind, is that when the mind thinks of something, especially as Krishna says in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam yashanti ante kalevram tantam evaiti kuntiya siddhartad bhava bhavataha. Then that's what you become in the next life. And so there's this whole cycle, this is of birth and death, which is depicted here. And then sometimes we go to heaven. Be nice to be in heaven, isn't it? Yeah, really nice. You get to take somaras instead of liquor. Not that you should take liquor. So, and you don't get old, you don't get sick. Of course, when your good karma runs out, Shanay Punya Marcha Lokam Vishanti, you come back down. Sometimes you take birth as a demon. Sometimes an animal. Sometimes you go to hell. Sounds familiar. That's not eternal. None of these things are eternal. It's just like, it's a temporary situation. Sometimes you become a ghost. Ooh. Why do you become a ghost? If people die under the influence of intoxication or certain types of violent death, they become ghosts and they have all the desires that we have, but they have no means to fulfill them. Unless they find you, not you. This is theoretical you, not a real you. But unless they find you taking intoxication. And that opens up the chakras. And they go, Haribol, now I can take over this person. They don't say Haribol. But they think Jai. And that's why you see drunk people, they actually act a little strange sometimes because they're actually ghostly haunted. And people take intoxication a lot are ghostly haunted. It may take a while for the intoxication to run out. And all this is caused by this cycle, the 3 gates described in the Bhagavad Gita, lust, anger, and greed, that we have to conquer. So again, the mind is the central point. And if we can control the mind, then we can actually make spiritual progress. So the whole point is controlling. And actually there's different processes, which we'll speak about in a second. So another thing we need to understand is the law of karma. Sometimes you hear people say, that's your karma, buddy. A very uncompassionate response. I'm sick. It's your karma. So that's not how you should deal with people. You should be compassionate. But in any case, karma in this particular context means action and reaction. So we have action, which produces a karma, and then that produces a reaction, and then the desires. I mean, it's a little more sophisticated than that. That it's sophisticated in that we have an inclination, which is called the kuta, and then there's the bija, the seed of desire, and then ultimately there's the action. So anyway, so we take action to avoid pain sometimes. So the law of karma is stated here: the quality of action creates the quality of results. Sounds like bad karma. What? What? Mic is working. What? Oh, okay. Give me the mic. Okay. Maybe the batteries are running down. So, actions of violence create suffering for oneself in the future. Action of compassion create happiness for oneself in the future. It's good reason to be compassionate. And our future bodies are dependent upon our consciousness and present actions in this way. And here's someone who, let's say, you could guess what his consciousness was like. I'm not going to say anything. Okay? Yes, he looks like a friend of mine. Anyway, so so one can become an animal. If one kills animals, one will be killed. And here's the explanation of that: bad karma, suffering, and there's anger, violent action, then you get more bad karma, which also yields more desire. So it's an endless cycle. There's a statement: the animal whose flesh I eat now will eat me in the future. Of course, that's a Vedic statement. Where's that statement in relationship to? It's in relationship to someone who once a month, because according to the Vedas, if someone is really attached to eating meat, they should take a goat, not a cow. I'm not recommending this. And once a month, worship the goddess Kali and say, basically, this is the Sanskrit there, Mamsa Bhakshaita Amutriyasya Mamamsa Iha Ajam Maham Etat Mamamsaya Mamatsat Swam Pravadanti Manishina. The animal whose flesh I eat now will eat me in the future. And of course that's a little discouraging, isn't it? And actually Prabhupada described that the word mamsa means you will eat me. The word for meat, you will eat me. Oh my God. So how many people are going to eat meat if they know that? So now we have opportunities to change, because we have free will to change our destiny by our courses of action. So we can change our course of action, get different results, and even the desires will change too by our choosing to associate and not contemplate, proper association, and not contemplate sense objects. So we break this whole cycle by new values, take good action, and then we get good karma. But that's not the be-all and end-all. It's not that we simply want good karma, because good karma is temporary, and as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, okay, I may be in the mode of goodness right now, but these three modes are always struggling for supremacy, for control. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the mode of ignorance and passion, and sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating goodness and ignorance. So you get the idea. It's always in flux. The material world is endlessly mutable, changing. So I may be in goodness right now, I'm going to give you an example of someone who was in goodness, not me. His name was Jamil. Some of you may know him. Nice Brahmin, young man, nice wife, nice family, nice guru. Wasn't my disciple. But I do have some that are like this. Anyway, so that's another issue. So he was walking, doing some service, and then he started to contemplate some lusty affairs that people were having. And he fell down basically for his whole life because of that. And he was in the mode of goodness, doing good action, had good karma. Because even good karma controls you and conditions you to stimulus, thought, and action. So, anyway, so when we're choosing an action, whether it's good karma or whether it's transcendental, because there's a difference between the two, we have a choice of action. For example, just talking about in the material realm, when we're talking about food, for example, we can think, is it good for our health? And that's a good choice in the material world. It's also good for serving Krishna because you don't want to die young. So we have choices of action. These are practical examples of choice of action. Is it good for the mind, a particular course of action? Is it truthful considering ethics? Does it create beauty? Is it nice? Is it attractive? Something that's going to soothe the mind and put you in the mode of goodness? Or does it create unconditional love? Of course, that's really what we're interested in. The actions of Krishna consciousness that create unconditional love, because that's the only yatma supersedity. Savai pumsam paradharma yato bhakti rahoksaje ahaitakiya pratyata yatma supersedity. That's the only thing that will really make us happy. Not that we have to give anything else up, but everything has to be focused and dovetailed in making a loving offering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. As Krishna himself says, whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, yat karoshi, yat shnashi, yat jehoshi, tatasiyat, yat tapashashi konti, yat kurushwa, maranapanam, should be offered to him. And also the food, patram pushpam palam toyam. Vyome bhakta prayachati, with love. And this satisfies the self. Because what we're all looking for, ultimately, is to be loved and to love in an unconditional way. In other words, we love Krishna, and we love others because others are connected to Krishna unconditionally, no matter what. Just like Lord Nityananda, he was hit with a pot on the head by Madai. Some of you may know this story. But he didn't give up his love for Madai. He prayed for Madai's deliverance to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is unconditional love. And Krishna loves us unconditionally. So, anyway, so there's methods of sense control. I'm going to give different methods. One is in karma yoga. Now, I'm not recommending specifically karma yoga right now, but I'm just giving the different methods that are there. And karma yoga entails following one's dharma. Dharma means one situation in the varnashram system. Some of you may be familiar with varnashram. That comes from Krishna. Varnashram, Krishna says about varnashram, chatur varnamaya shristam guna karma vibhagasha. Everyone has some guna and karma that's part of the physical body and the mental body. And that means quality and work. Some of us are attracted to intellectual work. Others are attracted to being a controller or being a soldier. Other people are attracted to business, making money, cow protection. Other people are attracted to artistic work. So everybody has their own nature. So karma yoga means to follow your dharma, varna, ashram, but karma yoga may be focused on getting good karma. Usually it's focused on getting good karma. That means going to Swarga, to the heavenly planets. So that's really not the highest method of controlling one's senses. Another one is called Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means you have a philosophical analysis. Someone's phone just went off. Of existence and Vedanta philosophy, and you perform a lot of austerity. Not many people I know are into this one. Most people are into the karma yoga. Of course, the problem with karma yoga, you become a karma mimamsi after a while. What is a karma mimamsi? A karma mimamsi is one who thinks karma is everything. If I'm good, I get a good result. Bad, get a bad result. Doesn't matter if there's God. Doesn't matter if there's demigods. Krishna actually taught this philosophy in order to trick his father Nanda Maharaj one time. And of course, the devotees reject this particular philosophy. Philosophy was originated in the Vedic literatures by a great sage named Jaimini Rishi, who was a great devotee, but some people are just into karma yoga. Karma mimamsa, that is. And it's very similar to what we have nowadays as the Arya Samaj or the Brahmo Samaj. Some of you may be familiar with this. Just do your Vedic sacrifices, just do everything properly, but, God, he's just like there. He's like the official in the government. He has to do his duty. If you do your good karma, Krishna just has to behave himself. That's karma mimamsa. And another method for controlling the senses, this is really difficult, we're getting to more difficult areas here, is Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga means eightfold, where you have to go to a secluded place, reject society, yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, jhana, samadhi, those are the 8 steps, and perform these really heavy austerities. You breathe in a certain way, in one nostril, out another nostril, offer the outgoing breath to the ingoing breath, and the ingoing breath to the outgoing breath, and I don't understand what that means. But at least that's what it says. Ashtanga Yoga. And of course that was originated by this person named Patanjali. And Patanjali did ultimately recommend that one meditate on God. Ultimately he recommended that, and he said the whole purpose of this Ashtanga Yoga is to stop the vritti, the turning of the mind, because the mind is always turning. And of course this word vritti is very similar, actually the origin of our English expression vert, which is used in many words like invert, revert, subvert, pervert. You understand? It means turn around. So the mind is always, as Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalahi manhat Krishna, Pramati balavadridam, Tashaham nigraham manye, or Iva Shadushkaram. The mind is what? Restless, turbulent, obstinate, more difficult than controlling the wind. And we experience that even when doing material things, like those who are studying in school. Sometimes it's really hard just to sit down and do your schoolwork, especially if you got a mobile phone. Isn't it? Because fortunately, I think TikTok's not going to be there anymore. But you'll find something else. So nowadays, because of this social networking, the mind is even more restless, turbulent, obstinate, and strong than it was before. Okay, but let's talk about an easy methodology which gives you the highest results in the shortest time. Wouldn't that be nice? And what is that? Devotional service, Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga, shravanam, kirtanam, vishnu smaranam. Archanam too, mentioned here. And that gives you the highest realization, quickest path, and allows you to control your mind because your mind is controlled by love, by a positive attraction. Just like a reflection of that would be in the world when you love something. Let's say you love a particular type of food and you can't keep your mind off of it. Or sometimes a young boy, a young girl, they fall in love sometimes. They fall in love and he's just like, I can't stop thinking of you. Of course, that doesn't go on for very long. But at least we can get an indication, that spontaneous type of attraction, 24 hours a day. And that's love, and that satisfies the self. And so these are the different steps here that, first of all, one may be in the lower mode of nature, tamaguna, which is ignorance, then to passion, rajaguna, sattvaguna, and then finally tries to go beyond the modes of nature. And then after that, one performs karma yoga. That means for the desires, or you're talking about karma mimamsa, something like that. Then nishkama, without any desire, that means for liberation, just want to get out, but it's still about me. And it's still not stable or steady. And then after that, jnana yoga, which we described before, ashtanga yoga, which is the hatha yoga process, and ultimately bhakti yoga, which is the highest. And so, in that way, we're able to control the mind and the senses. Why is this? Because we're having a higher taste. Oh my God. What does that look like? Globulins. I remember Prabhupada in the early days, he used to keep a big barrel full of what he called ISKCON bullets. And the devotees would just like go and grab some. I remember that. And then I remember always chanting my japa in the prasadam room. And after each round, I reward myself with an ISKCON bullet. Anyway, so, and he didn't like that explanation. And one time there was someone who was really into austerities in ISKCON, I'm not going to mention his name, and he went to Prabhupada and he said to Prabhupada, I think we should restrict the devotees. They should only have one sweet ball a day or something like that. And Prabhupada said, I think we should restrict you to one sweet ball a day. So that's why Prabhupada says kitchen religion, so we give people a higher taste. But it's spiritual. The prasadam is spiritual. It's offered to Krishna. So in this way, we're engaging the senses. And even in this world with the tongue, we're having a higher taste, a spiritual taste, and that helps us control the mind. As a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Avishayavani Vartante Nirasha Dehana, Rasa Varjam Rasho Pirsa Param Jasadi Vartate, that sometimes one may restrict themselves, like in the Hatha Yoga process, from sense enjoyment, but the person still has a taste or a desire for enjoyment. It just remains there. They haven't gotten rid of it. And that desire may not be obvious, just like there may be a seed. And that seed may not have fructified. And the seed may have sat there for thousands of years. Like when they unearthed the pyramids, sometimes they came across these seeds. And then they put some water on the seeds, and then the seeds sprouted. So simply engaging in denial of the senses or austerity doesn't get rid of the desire. It just may put it in a position where it's not dormant, where it is dormant, and then it becomes active later on. So this verse says, the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains, but ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Higher pleasure, higher taste. And I can say, after I joined the Krishna conscious movement many, many years ago, every day it gets better. I mean, how many of you can say that about your own lives? That every day my car gets better, whatever. So anyway, so we can use the senses for self-realization. The senses, mind, intelligence, ego. So we have spiritual senses, spiritual mind, spiritual intelligence, and we have the real ego, which is I belong to Krishna. And then the soul is transported to Krishna in one of his various manifestations, incarnations. Krishna has unlimited incarnations, unlimited avatars, just like the waves of the ocean. And of all those different avatars, incarnations, the most attractive one is Krishna. Why do we say Krishna is the most attractive one? Krishna has 64 qualities. The other avatars have 60 qualities. And what are the additional qualities that Krishna has that the avatars don't have? One is called Rupa Madhurya. Rupa Madhurya means a beautiful, attractive, sweet form that attracts even other incarnations. Mahavishnu wanted to see Krishna, so he was attracted. Even Krishna is attracted by himself. And Krishna attracts the coward, and he has beautiful associates. Then there's Leela Madhurya. That means sweet pastimes, very intimate pastimes. And then Venu Madhurya. Does anyone know what that means? Plays the flute. Krishna's the expert musician. And when he plays the flute, the rocks melt, and the water in the rivers, the water in the streams actually freezes. So that those things that are normally moving become unmoving, and those things that are normally unmoving, they start to move. Pretty amazing. Krishna is the ultimate attraction. Ultimate attraction. And how you become attracted to Krishna? What's the process? We get the seed of bhakti by association with the devotees. And that's called the Bhakti Bhata Bija. And we are wandering throughout all the different universes, in many different species of life, and Brahmanda Brahmatai, on the Bhagwan, Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Lata Bija. One gets that seed. The way I got that seed was one day many of you know the story, one day I was listening to the radio, and then all of a sudden there was Prabhupada chanting. And my life changed. I was just an ordinary engineering student at the university, just planning out how to do quantum mechanics. Then my life was spoiled. Just by hearing from Prabhupada, and then I became attracted. Somehow or other, Krishna arranged everything. Somehow or other I got a Krishna book. Couldn't keep my mind off of Krishna, stealing the butter and feeding it to the monkeys. And that was it. The end of my material life. So, and then the pure devotee, the spiritual master, engages us in Krishna consciousness in the different processes, such as hearing about Krishna, which is actually the most important process, because without hearing about Krishna, about hearing about the philosophy, hearing about the practices, then one won't understand how to do anything else. And also we engage the ear by hearing, the eye by what? Seeing the beautiful form of the Lord. And we engage in kirtan, which is the Yuga Dharma. Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. And we engage even the nose in smelling the flowers and tulsi leaves offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you have some nice smelling incense. And we engage the tongue. We're not panda bears. Anyway, so in eating prasadam, and we can engage our propensity to dance. It's not that everybody has to learn Bharatanatyam dancing. But, we can just dance spontaneously for the deities, for the pleasure of the deities. So even this dancing. And we meditate, different practices like meditation. We have our japa. Japa means soft chanting. And that's jhana, the same thing as Ashtanga Yoga, but meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is the ultimate sense control. And the description is, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way. That's from the Naradiya Purana. Does anyone know the Sanskrit for that? Hari Nama. Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nishteva, Nishteva, Nishteva. Gatiranyata. There is no other way. And it's said in the Vedic literatures, when you repeat something 3 times, then it's considered fixed, serious. It's the truth. Kalo Nishteva, Harinama, 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 3 times. And then Kalo Nishteva, Nishteva, Nishteva. 3 times. There is no other way other than the chanting of Krishna's names. And so Krishna is so attractive. Who can ever forget him? You may recognize these deities. Radha, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. It says if you would all desire to enjoy mundane society, friendship, and love, don't go to see Krishna who is playing his flute on the banks of the Keshi Ghat. That's a sarcastic statement made by Srila Rupa Goswami, which says if you go to see Krishna, then your mind will be enamored by him, and then you will forget all your mundane pursuits. So, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda Ki Jai. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So by Prabhupada's mercy, we have been given this knowledge, and so by Prabhupada's mercy, all of you can get the knowledge of Krishna consciousness and become happy and make your life successful. So any questions or comments? Yes, Nanda Gopal.
I had a question on, you had mentioned unconditional love.
Yeah.
So I can speak for myself, whenever I have an opportunity to serve deeply devotees, that is always that
Maybe he should have a mic. Oh, anyway.
I'm struggling with this, so I get something in return. That is the propensity, whether I express that or not. It's very subtle. That's the fact. So my question is, in a neophyte state, how to express and experience unconditional love?
Okay, so what do you want in return? You set yourself up for that question. Yeah.
I did not think it.
That's the problem. So, what, you don't know what you want in return. Okay, so let's say, okay, you want in return a new job. I mean, just theoretically. So, instead, you should want something in return that is pleasing to Krishna. That is, I want to be a pure devotee. I want to love you. So, sometimes, well, oftentimes, most of the time, we don't love Krishna. But we can want to love Krishna. And sometimes, we don't want to love Krishna. But at least we should want to love Krishna. And sometimes we don't want to love Krishna. So at least we should want to want. In other words, we can lament, even if you have, the point I'm making, even if you have some other objective desire, you can lament, oh my God, I can't believe I'm worshiping the deities and thinking of this. Krishna, help me. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram. Patitamam vishamay bhavam buddho. Lamentation means purification. You understand? So, O son of Nanda Maharaj, I'm your eternal servant, but somehow or other I've caught up in this horrible ocean of birth and death, and even though I'm worshiping you, my mind is not thinking of the proper thing. So please, help me. You're drowning. First of all, you have to recognize you're drowning. I remember there was one disciple, oh yeah, he's probably watching. So, we were crossing the Ganges River one time, and just a part of the Ganges River too, a little island. And I said, "Are you all right?" "Oh yeah, I'm all right." And so he gets to the middle, and he realizes he's not all right. "Gurudev, save me!" So we have to realize that we're drowning, to ask for help. So, does that answer the question? So, anybody else have a question? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. So, you explained the false ego, and then I think you briefly mentioned the true ego.
Yeah.
So,
real ego.
practically, how do I understand? So, I understand very clearly when I have false ego, but how do I work towards, like, can you give an example of when I could realize, or how do I identify what is actually true ego? Like,
True ego is understanding Krishna is the owner. No, actually, there's a verse 529. Bhaktaram jakatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam getwamam shantim richati. 529 in the Gita. And this verse says, to understand that Krishna is the enjoyer, he is the object of all sacrifice, sarvaloka maheshwaram, he's in charge of everything, he's omniscient, omnipresent, he's in everyone's heart, he's controlling everything. Suridam, he's your friend. He wants the best thing for you. He's situated in your heart. So remembering all these different things, actually that verse is pretty good answer to your question. Then that brings you back to the real ego and the connection with Krishna. And that's, of course, Prabhupada termed that verse to be the peace formula, because all of us want peace. Oftentimes during the ceremonies, we chant what? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I've never become peaceful by chanting Shanti. It's never worked for me. Maybe it works for you, but for me it's just like peace, peace, peace. Okay, my mind's still agitated. So instead, Bhaktaram Jakatapasam. Go to the real ego. Krishna's the controller. Something's happening in this material world that we don't like. Krishna arranged it. He has a higher purpose. Okay? 529. Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. And there's other verses, Shwara, Sarvabhutana. I can go through the whole Bhagavad Gita. And there's also the Upanishad. Ishavashamidam sarvam yakancha jagatam jagat. Anyway. So any other questions? Quick questions or comments? Otherwise, it's time. So, all right. So thank you all very much. And please read Srila Prabhupada's books and get some copies of Srila Prabhupada's books from Aditya Narayan Prabhu, who'll be glad to provide you with some copies of these books to explain further the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Such a beautiful presentation, taking us from that aspect of delusion all the way to Krishna consciousness. So beautiful. So let's again express our gratitude to Maharaj for this wonderful presentation and giving us this wisdom. His Holiness B. Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. So, thank you everyone for coming. And our next program is Prasadam downstairs. So, after the announcements, you can walk downstairs for the Prasadam. Again, I did mention Prasadma Prabhu, Sadhvi Radha Mataji and the entire team. We would like to thank them for cooking the whole feast. So, let's give them a big Haribol. They are right here. Haribol! Also, when we go down, just before Prasadam, we are celebrating birthdays of few kids of our New Goloka community. So we'll have a small birthday celebration before we have Prasadam. Okay, and as Maharaj also mentioned at the starting of the class, when you walk down, everywhere you're walking, be extremely careful. Don't run and don't just walk as if it's normal. All the surface around is very slippery. Walk slowly, especially all the children, be very careful. They are not just running around. Please be extremely careful with the icy surface. Okay. So from this actually 2025, one thing that we want to start is those who have sponsored the feast. We request you to please come forward now, and we'll have a short, a special Artik ceremony where the sponsors will be offering Artik to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. So the sponsored the feast, we request you to please come forward. And remaining we can proceed downstairs for Prasadam. 7 o'clock is the next Artik, and then darshans will close at 7:30 p.m. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming us. Please do join us next Sunday, again 4 p.m. we'll have a regular weekly program, and also we have a special visiting guest. His Grace Amarendra Prabhu will be in town from January 23rd to 26th, that's 2 weekends from now. So please mark your calendars. Okay. Thank you so much. And Maharaj, as he mentioned at the end, please stop by our book table. We have the whole stack of Srila Prabhupada's books, and you can pick up the whole set today when you go out. And if you already have it, you can actually give it as a gift to your friends. Thank you. His Holiness Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda Mahaprasadam ki.
Mahaprasade Govinde, Nama Brahmani Vaishnave, Swalpa Punyavritam Rajan, Vishwaso Naiva Jayate, Sharira Vidya Jadindriya Tahika Jibhe Phale Vishaya Sagare Dharmadhe Jihayati Lobha Vaisudurmati Take jetha kadhina samsare Krishna bada dayamay Kari bare jivhajar Swaprasadan dilo bhai Sayanamrita Pau Radha Krishna Gunagau Premeda Ko Shri Chaitanya Nitai Jaini Mai Jaini Tai Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhagavad Mahaprasad ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai.